Hi, I am Slade Ham. You should know that by now. This is your captain speaking. In the cockpit of the Midnight Spaceship, it's red tonight to reflect the temperature. Something is afoot. Something's gone squirrely. The air conditioner, specifically. I don't know what's going on with it. It's not dead. It's not done, but it's not optimal. It's like 78 degrees in the house, like 104 or something outside. It's the most miserable summer it's ever been. Thank God I have fans right now. If you hear anything buzzing in the background, that's salvation. Thus I am drinking water. Everything I've touched right now is breaking. Everything. My internet has been acting squirrely. I don't know why I said squirrely. Again, is squirrely the word of the day? Is this Pee-wee's Playhouse? It is acting squirrely. It is. My Roku is. It's like 2 steps behind. Every time you touch something, it takes 2 seconds for it to get to it. And then my laptop. I'm having to do this in a weird, backwards, sort of engineered way. I've hijacked another piece of equipment because my USB ports on this laptop are all jacked up. I'm like a human EMP right now. That's what I feel like. I'm sorry, I fried everything. So I'm not in a bad mood. I'm just not in a everything's swell. It's not. It's hot. This sucks. It's my fault for how many times have I said in the recent past that everything is too good right now? Everything's fantastic. Everything's wonderful. And I said that out loud too many times. And Karma caught note and looked at the ledger. I was like, come here. You can't have a comedy special and air conditioning. Get over here. Anyway. And I'm sore. I haven't been working out, but I've been exercising to get in shape. I'm going to Chile. I'm going to Chile. I just say it the way I've always said it. Chile. In November. December? Maybe it's mainly December. I'm going to hike down there in Patagonia, and I'm worried about my knee. I want to make sure, I'm just trying to make sure the muscles all around the knee are improved and in shape and in the best possible place they could be before I go traipsing it up and down the mountains of South America. It's going to be exciting. This is the most unknown quarter in front of me ever. We're going to see what happens. I went to get groceries. I've been this whole year. You want to talk about fixing every part of your life, right? I keep talking about all that stuff. One of the elements has been diet, exercise, right? So many people saw me at the special. You look so skinny. Oh, my God, you should eat something. No. I mean, I should. I will. I'm eating. But I've cut out almost all the carbs for reasons I'll get into in a whole nother episode. Everything but rice, mainly. Means no fried food, no fast food. A lot of junk foods off the table. The main culprit, potatoes. Right? Potatoes. I can't do potatoes. I can't do tomatoes. I also can't do a bunch of other stuff, which has limited my diet ridiculously. But it's forced me out of all of the habitual crap I was eating. And if you're going to switch out of something, if you're going to shift gears, if you're going to break a habit, that is the way to do it. I mean, an abrupt 180, like a stunt driver. Spin that car however they spin it, and right back the opposite direction, whiplash style. You don't have time to keep one foot on either coast when you're trying to make big changes. I stripped my diet down to like nothing and then have slowly rebuilt it back up. There's an entire episode's worth of a process. We'll talk about that. But my point, I went to go get some groceries. It's made grocery shopping exceptionally difficult. And I live in what you could call a food desert. I've spoken about these a little bit. Food deserts, predominantly in lower middle class neighborhoods. Now, neighborhood I'm in, gentrifying. It's going to very soon. We'll get one of those fancy HEBs dropped right in the middle of it. It'll have a Starbucks on the inside. Everything will turn a pasty shade of Caucasian. I'll get priced out of the neighborhood. I went through this in the Heights. I'm expecting it where I'm at in lovely Second Ward. So the grocery store that's available now, in a lot of these neighborhoods, more than a mile away from a grocery store. In posher neighborhoods, for instance, the Heights, where I used to live. I used to live in Houston. If you know the city, Houston's a big clock, right? Big outer loop, smaller inner loop, and then freeways that cut across it. I-10 right down the center. So if you're driving down the center of I-10, Shepherd Boulevard, smack in the middle of the loop, smack in the middle of Houston. And if you just drove quarter of a mile, half mile north, I was in a cool little neighborhood there. Now, in that neighborhood, you could walk across the street to a Kroger signature store. Had everything you could ever imagine. And this is when I was living there and people were still breaking into houses and cars. I always get into a neighborhood right before it turns cool, right before it turns walkable at night and too expensive for me to live in. But that Kroger was there. That was back when grocery stores that Kroger was 24 hours a day. I used to walk over there. This is terrible. I remember one night. When I say walkable, I mean walkable. Cross Shepherd. And when I first started living there, I couldn't fall asleep. I was having horrible bouts of insomnia. This was like 12 years ago. I remember where I was in my life. Like, my headspace was not in a good place. I started smoking pot to try to go to sleep. It would knock me out. And that would be like the mechanism. I'd take like a little hit, and it would just zonk me. And then I started smoking a little bit of it, so I'd go on these walks, and it was the most peaceful, blissful, dissociated walks in the evening. They were wonderful. And I'd walk all the way down. I almost get to downtown on these walks. There was a trail that went out there. But it was dark. It was late. So sometimes, for safety or whatever, I brought like a headlamp, right? Like my little hiker's headlamp that I take out to the mountains. And I just put it on when you go through a couple of stretches of this little bike trail that run behind some of the neighborhoods. It's a little dark. You just flip the lamp on. Everything's good. I just leave it on the whole trip. No big deal. I'm just like a Smurf. La, 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 la. Blissfully skipping down, having this walk. And then I start to get a little hungry. You know what I mean? Man, you know it'd be great? I could walk right over to that Kroger. That's like 11:30 at night. This is back when it was 24 hours a day. Might have been midnight. And I go walking in to get this steak that I want. I wanted steak and I wanted zucchini. And I go in, and you could just feel it, man. You know that kind of stone paranoia? Everybody knows. They all know. I shouldn't have come outside. That's how it feels. I'm getting my steak. I'm looking at it. Do they think I'm about to steal this steak? Why does everybody staring at me? So I get that. Then I go to get my zucchini. And I just really started eating vegetables. I'm new to this. Looking through the vegetables. Oh, why is everybody looking? All right, I'll just get my vegetable and I'll go. I'll kind of hold my steak up where everyone can see it, so it doesn't look like I'm stealing it. I grab a big old green vegetable, whatever. All right, anyway, I grab the zucchini and I go to the checkout and I ring everything up and I walk back home and man, that was such a trip. What was going on? And I get inside my house. And I open the door, and I realize I've had my headlamp on the whole time. The whole time. And not only did I go waltzing through the grocery store like a spelunker, I was into the second bite of my zucchini when I realized I had come home and sauteed the cucumber I bought. Because I can't tell the difference between a green vegetable and a green vegetable. That was my old Kroger. That's where I used to go. Now, I get this Combat Kroger. I've talked about it before. They're patting me down for backpacks and stuff. And these food deserts, man, when they pop one grocery store, this is the only grocery store within, I bet, 5 miles. I'm not kidding. I bet someone should look at a map. I should have looked at a map, right, if I'm the one talking about this. There's this store, and that's it. In the Heights, there's a Kroger Signature where I used to live. If you drive a little bit north, there's an H-E-B, Supreme, or whatever they call them. If you go south just a little ways, right about the time you get to Montrose, there might be one even before that. In fact, I think there's one at Allen Parkway and Wall. And then there's another one in Montrose. There's H-E-B, these giant, massive grocery stores. If you go to the grocery store I have right now, Combat Kroger. I didn't make up Combat Kroger, by the way. It's what Houston calls it. They are currently out of everything. It looks like a hurricane is always coming tomorrow. That's what this place looks like. It looks like the site of a bomb falling. Shelves devoid, just blown, whatever's left. Oh, yeah, we're so sorry. We're out of meat today. And even if they do have meat, it's terrible meat. They got skirts. It's like the worst cuts of meat, the kind of meat. They're like, oh, we don't, if you steal it, like we expect you to. They treat every customer like a prisoner. They treat us they treat people like you're going to the jail commissary. And then wonder why people steal from it. I applaud. Anytime I see somebody get by with something in there, I just applaud it. Good for you. I'm not saying I don't know how it would fly. You go to that Kroger Signature. I had to go over there the other day. It's right next to my dentist. So I go to the dentist and then I go to get food right after that because they got everything, right? I can get any kind of. They got 47 different kinds of tortillas. They don't care what you can or can't eat. We got you. It's made of every kind of flour you can imagine. The meat department, like 9 different kinds of shrimp. There's 7 different kinds of almonds that you can just go grind into butter. Right there in front of the place. You don't even have to buy the butter. You can just grind it up and leave a bag of it sitting there and no one even questions it. Just move on to the coffee and grind one of 64 different varietals there. Or just buy the beans and take them home and grind them yourself. You don't have a grinder? There's an appliance section in the grocery store. Go get pots and pans and towels and buckets and pails and pots. More pots. You can have all the pots. Cheese graters and waffle makers and coffee grinders. And I go to my Kroger. There's a half-eaten bag of M&Ms and 1 box of like house brand aluminum foil. It's so terrible. The produce department, everything is bad there. Everything is almost about to go bad. You go in the good Kroger, there's still checkers there. There's still people that'll take your money in exchange for the groceries. Mine has replaced all but two of the aisles where you used to take your groceries and have a human exchange. I get it. Everything's going automated. I'm not about to be that dude. I have the hiccups. I'm not going to do that. But they have quickly figured out that the best way to prevent theft is to take all the people away from there and then have like 6 people working the self-check. It's astounding, this system, this process, this thing that they have put together, this security guard and the mob of 6 that watches you as you get your groceries. They've now taken away your ability to turn the volume completely off. You used to be able to mute it. This is how tech always goes. They first introduce it. There's easy ways to circumvent it, right? When they first put these automated checkers out, it was easy. Everything was just bananas, right? Not like crazy. I mean, like you just rang it up as bananas. Doesn't matter what you got. Oh, is that filet mignon? Bananas. It's all 98 cents a pound, whatever the math is. I don't know how much bananas are. 12 cents a pound. Bananas should basically be free. You could beat that system now, and even then, you could beat it by ringing up the wrong stuff. My whole brain, my whole life has just looked at systems and tried to figure out how I get one over on them. Not that I do, but it's just how my brain works. I was doing it when I worked at Best Buy. I was doing it when I worked at the grocery store. I worked in a grocery store. That's why all of this hits home. I used to stock shelves. I used to take pride. Look at me. I used to take pride in aisle 6 at the Market Basket at Gateway in Beaumont, Texas. You ever went in there and the grape jelly, not just the grape jelly, but all the jelly was lined up so perfect. Chef's kiss. Mwah. Such a good aisle I had. Oh, I had the bacon goods aisle. When you're a grocery store stalker, some aisles are worse, some aisles are better. You would always get, we're like a team of 4 or 5 of us. We would be assigned aisles. And I'm trying to remember what the best ones were. I think if you had like toilet paper or paper towels, those were good aisles, right? Because all the boxes were big. They filled the shelves up fast. Canned goods sucked. Oh, you would have to lug a stack of those heavy-ass boxes to the aisle and then stack them all perfect. Canned goods you can make look the prettiest. Baked stuff was all right. That's what I had. And jellies and jams and peanut butters and probably syrups and honeys. It was also right there near the cigarette end cap. That's what I remember the most when I worked at that grocery store. I used to steal cigarettes because they were expensive. This was like 1990s money. I wasn't always a not thief. Younger me, heathen tendencies. I've been making up for it my whole life. Relax. It's probably why my AC went out. I used to, cigarettes were $2 a pack when I started smoking. $2.11, that's what they came to. For those of you who didn't know, I smoked for a long time, up until 2008, probably. And a lot, too. Whole different conversation. But my aisle was all the baked stuff, and then right there on the end, the cigarette end cap. That's why I say technology changes, right? You could just take stuff. There weren't even security tags. There were no beeping alarms. Does anyone remember this? This was the Wild West. You might as well walk into a saloon and shoot someone. Pow! There were, some places had cameras, but they didn't really record. That was expensive. Such a heathen. So anyway, whoever works this grocery store should be ashamed of themselves. Unstocked shelves, nothing fronted. Front your shelves. It would do us all good to have some grocery store experience. I thoroughly enjoyed working there too. Like, those are good memories. I started out as a sacker, and then I became a checker, and then I became a stalker. I never managed or anything like that, but sometimes I'd be the highest ranking dude in the store. Sometimes we would go back in the back and we would do whippets because, you know what I mean? You just turn the Ready Whip back in. Oh, no, when it got here, it was flat. They'd just bring you another box of Ready Whips. They would come in those milk crates. You had to put them up on the shelves, and if that was your job to go stock dairy, you would just be in the cooler with all these whipped cream containers, and you would just then you would sit down and just and you would come back to a little bit, you would put some milks on the shelf, and then you would grab another of those Ready Whips. You can't shake them up. That was a mistake. That's what gives you, if you shake them up, that's how you get whipped cream. You didn't want the whipped cream. You just wanted the nitrous stored at the top of the whipped cream container. Then you would hold it. Then you would go bring that whole box back. Returns. There's a good squad of dudes I met at that grocery store, now that I'm thinking about it all in hindsight. I wouldn't make it at one of these modern grocery stores. I had to work at one like the one I did, sort of one similar to Combat Kroger. Need to always be on the on the verge of getting robbed. I think we got robbed twice at my grocery store. Twice, maybe. I was making $4.25 an hour, too. That is telling. All right. Anyway, enough about grocery stores. The one that they were having like salt tastings or some bullshit at this Kroger when I went the other day. Would you like to try some pink Himalayan salt? I'm like, my grocery store doesn't have any salt. I would just take the Umbrella Girl salt or some of that regular kosher stuff that you put on a margarita. Yo, over here with pink Himalayan, lightly dusted. Would you like to try this? This rims a drink so love. No, I just need something to put on my food. And I live in a jungle where it's kill or be killed for the only jug of salt in the whole place. I gotta get out of here. Not here, just where I'm at in general. Fix my life, fix my air conditioning, fix a lot of things. I've been watching. I wouldn't make it. I've been watching one of these shows. The way I'm complaining about my food desert. The way I'm complaining about the heat. I've been watching Alone on Hulu. You watch that nightmare show? These people voluntarily go sleep out in the woods for like 100 days or something. It's craziness. They give them like 10 things. Here's a saw. Here's some fishing line. They give them fish. They give them a couple of things, but they mainly just leave them alone. And over 10 episodes, you slowly watch these people die and wither away. They don't actually die, but they basically get as close to death as they'll let them get before they jerk them out. You got to go. Why? Because you weigh 47 pounds. So, well, you're a 6'3" dude. You can't weigh that little. Most of the show is just leading you into believing something's about to happen. I have so many issues with television and the way it works right now. The way we just get drawn in. This show alone, there's two different types of shows. Do I have time to get to all this? I think I do. Let's see. The way they grab your attention with a hook and then keep it. There's shows like Alone, and then there's shows like Suits. You watching that? You probably are. Isn't that weird that I know that everyone seems to kind of talk about it all at the same time, that there's some sort of cultural zeitgeist with this show? It's not new. It came out in like 2011. It ran 8 or 9 seasons. 9, I think. If you don't know the show, it's the one that princess chick is Meghan Markle. I didn't even know who she was. It was like 3 seasons in, and I saw her name. So, this show and this other show Alone tickle two different nerves. Suits is heroin. Every single scene in Suits, the reason you like it, a couple of reasons. The music is always keeping the tension going. All of the reasons are tension-based. Every scene escalates drastically, more than you could ever imagine. More than it should. Alone does something different. Alone makes you think something's happening all the time. You'll just hear the person walking. It's all first person found footagey looking. They've built their little shelter. They're going to find food. And then you'll hear go, oh my God. And then the whole camera will shake and everything will go black. Like they're going to a commercial, which they probably were when this aired on television or whatever. But they come back and they'll go, oh my God. And then it'll be something entirely different. Like they just completely manufactured that scary, oh my God. It'll be just them seeing a rainbow or something. Or some majestic animal. You're like, oh my God. And you'll realize that the only difference is they were playing tense-ass music underneath the oh my God before they went to break. And you were just manipulated into a situation, and then you realize all of television is that way. And with Alone, they do it, and the hit rate on it is like never. It hits about once an episode, maybe once every other episode. Someone should just tell you the good parts, and you could watch all of Alone in about 6.5 minutes. But occasionally, it gives you that lottery win. That's what Alone is like. It's like playing the lottery. But when it hits, boy, does it hit. Billions, right? It'll be some dude who'll go, oh, my God. And the music will play. And you'll be like, they got me again. But they'll come back. And when they come back, the dude will, like, attack and kill a muskox with a rock, like a 5,000-pound beast. And he'll wrestle it down. He'll bite its throat out. You're like, oh, my God. If this happened every episode, this show would be great. But it doesn't. But they give you those payoffs just frequently enough to make you stick around. Suits does the opposite. Every scene pays off. Every single scene. That show is the worst people. If you watch that show, watch it. It is the worst people making the worst decisions in the history of ever. Everyone working at this law firm, if you don't know Suits, starts out with a ridiculous premise. Redonkulous, where a dude who never went to law school ends up being a lawyer, and all these Harvard-y people cover for it's ridiculous. Every decision everyone makes in this entire show is the wrong one. Watch it. Watch any. I bet they say I'm sorry on a big scale. Sorries. Not like, oh, I'm sorry I bumped into your car. Like, I'm sorry I banged your sister. Like, I'm sorry I cost you your company. I'm huge. I'm sorries. They always say, don't tell so-and-so, just as so-and-so walks into the room. Every scene escalates like that. The lead, Harvey Specter, pretty boy, perfectionist, never loses, constantly. What did you just say to me? And then the person will say the most horrible thing you could ever say in that scenario. And then the horses are off to the races with more drama. The amount of times a character in Suits says, we have no other choice. We just didn't have a choice. What was I going to do? I didn't have a choice. There was no other choice. We were painted into a corner. We didn't have a choice. Every single time, there is another choice. Every time. Watch this stupid show. And every time, not only is there another choice, there is in fact a choice that would be the correct moral decision and get them out of the situation. We didn't have a choice. You had every choice, including the right one. It's so ridiculous. But the tension pays off in every single scene. It just amps up a little bit more, keeps the hook in your mouth. And they do what shows should take more notice of. They close the loop in almost every episode. Even if there's a season-long serial story, every episode gives you a nice, tight, compact conclusion to the drama that they just so ridiculously dragged you into against your will in unbelievable ways. Yet you suck it up like a grocery store whippet. We suck it up because it feels good, doesn't it? To have a story reach a dramatic peak and a conclusion and everything. All's well that ends well, right? Everything. The ship pulls into the harbor, the car into the garage. The show reaches an end. Everyone is happy. It's how much of life is. We're all just looking for our little circle to feel correct, to feel complete, for all of the drama to end in a happy sort of fashion. I hope yours does too. I'm off to good places, whether or not the air conditioning in the spaceship works or not. Perhaps I'll sweat through the galaxy. I'll keep the red lights on just so people know something's a little bit squirrely. Cheers. I'll see you on another episode of the Slade Ham Experiment.